children are not taken away from their parents just because their parents choose a different schedule or not to vaccinate their children. And this hopefully wasn't occurring in our state. I sure hope it wasn't. But if it was, it'll certainly stop now. And this, I want to thank the sponsors, Representative Baisley, Representative Singer, Senator Lundeen, for clarifying the law in this area, not only for parents, but also for folks who have to report, because I think there were some folks who might have been scared to report because they were afraid it could lead to problems for the family. It will no longer do so. And this clarifies that. And I'm proud to turn it over to Representative Singer.
Well, thank you, Governor. And I want to also extend my thanks to Representative Baisley for being willing to work with me on this one. This bill is the story of bipartisanship. When he first introduced this bill, it was not in a condition where we could get a strong bipartisan vote. And through many hours and many weeks of discussion and debate, we found a way not just to make a point, but to make a difference. And that's what this bill is really about, is making sure that kids always are protected, because parents should never be afraid to report when a kid is in danger. And it's also the story of taking a controversial issue like immunizations and making this nearly a unanimous vote out of the House and the Senate. So my thanks again to the bill sponsors, to the child welfare workers, to the folks in the vaccine choice community that all found a way to find a middle ground, because that's the Colorado story that we should be talking about every day. And I look forward to seeing this bill get signed. So thank you again.
Thank you, Representative Baisley. Oh, he's not with us. Good. Okay, Senator Lundeen with us? Okay, we will sign this and make it official. It's now officially the law of Colorado. Congratulations. For this next law, it has to do with the CAPS check program. That's the Adult Protective Services. This makes sure that we can better monitor the mistreatment of at-risk adults. I want to thank Representative Lundeen and Senator Danielson. We also have Cara Harvey from CDHS with us, and we'll begin with Representative Lundeen.
Thank you, Governor, and I'm so proud to be here. I have to give all the credit here to the Department of Human Services, who worked out the kinks and you know, just made better what we did in 2018. So this is a great bill, and it will continue and improve our protection of at-risk adults. And thank you for your support today.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you so much, Governor Polis, for your support of the measure and for signing the bill and for doing the ceremony today. It's nice to see everybody. Thank you so much to the department for your dedicated service to the people of Colorado and for what you did on this particular measure. It was a pleasure to work with your team, Governor Polis, inside the building and, of course, out in the community. Everyone works so hard to protect seniors and their ability to live with security in our state. And I think right now, during this crisis, the COVID pandemic has highlighted the vulnerabilities of older Coloradans more than ever. And we have an obligation to step up and do everything that we can. This is one of those examples. This piece of legislation will go a ways to protect those who need it. Thank you so much, Representative Lundeen. As always, such a dedicated public servant, and just lovely to work with you. And with that, Governor Polis and the whole team, and if the advocates are listening, we did invite them. I know it was more of a department priority, but as always, we work closely with Dr.Cog and the senior lobby and the AARP and CCDC and the other folks who work very, very hard to protect these same consumers. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. And Cara Harvey, please.
Hi, thank you, Governor Polis. My name is Cara Harvey, and I am the director of the Division of Aging and Adult Services at the Colorado Department of Human Services. I am pleased to be with you here today, and the many, many partners who have made House Bill 1302 possible. In particular, I want to thank the bill sponsors, Representative Lundeen and Senator Danielson. During this abbreviated session, this bill would not have passed without your dedication and leadership. And throughout this pandemic, ensuring that our most vulnerable are safe is more important than ever. House Bill 1302 improves the ability for Adult Protective Services and the CAPS Checks program to provide safety for at-risk adults who are experiencing mistreatment. It does close some gaps in the pre-employment screening of employees who will be providing direct care to at-risk adults. Changes in the bill related to Adult Protective Services investigations and other practices will also help to ensure that adults experiencing mistreatment receive the protective services necessary to ensure their health, safety, and welfare going forward. A change to the confidentiality requirements will allow Adult Protective Services caseworkers to provide certain employers the information they need to implement safety procedures in their agencies to prevent a person who has mistreated an at-risk adult from mistreating other at-risk adults served by that agency. So thank you, Governor Polis, for signing this bill. And when you do, you really reaffirm the importance of Adult Protective Services program and keeping Colorado's vulnerable adults safe from abuse, neglect, exploitation, and other harmful acts. Thank you very much.
Without further ado, let's make it the law of Colorado. And it's now official. Congratulations. This next bill is about equity and access to clinical trials in Medicaid. I want to thank Representative Michelson-Janae, Representative Liston, Senator Todd, Senator Priola, and Lieutenant Governor Primavera for this bill. You know, the Lieutenant Governor it was a recipient of clinical drugs that actually helped save her life. So she's a particular interest in this bill. This makes sure that Medicaid pays for participation in clinical trials. People, for instance, might need diagnostic testing and monitoring and other treatment related to a trial. And this makes sure that those are covered under Medicaid. My thanks to the sponsors for removing an obstacle in what is often a very long and difficult and unknown treatment process. So thank you to our sponsors. And do we have the Lieutenant Governor? We don't? Okay, we have Senator Todd.
Unmuted?
Yes, you're good.
Okay.
I hope you're not driving, Senator Todd.
I'm actually writing. I'm not driving.
Good.
You can tell I'm in the car. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. This was such an important bill, and I'm so glad that you mentioned the Lieutenant Governor, because we served together in the House when we started talking about how important clinical trials are. And so to be able to move this forward and to be able to continue making sure that those clinical trials are available, that's where we get results, that's where we get new discoveries, and I think we've all become so much more aware of how important that is, particularly during this pandemic right now, and the Medicaid recipients being able to take advantage of that. So thank you, and thank you to all of my co-sponsors in the House, Representative Michelson-Janae, Representative Liston, Senator Priola, and again, the Lieutenant Governor. And so with that, thank you, Governor, for signing it into law.
Good, and I think we're joined by the Lieutenant Governor as well. Lieutenant Governor, did you want to say a few words?
Yes, thank you, Governor. Sorry I'm a few minutes late, but thank you for letting me join you. As many people know, I have been diagnosed with cancer several times, and after being fortunate to participate in a successful clinical trial and working with brilliant doctors and nurses and other healthcare professionals, the love and support of my family and friends, and a lot of luck on my side, I fought and kicked cancer's butt. So I consider myself lucky. Not only because I survived cancer, but also that I didn't go broke in the process. So after I beat cancer, I've dedicated my time and energy to make a difference for those facing what looked to be an unsurmountable uphill battle for me. So while in the legislature, I created the Cancer Caucus and to raise awareness and ensure that there was a strong, unified voice for those advocating for cancer patients. And I was also honored to champion legislation to repurpose the pink license plate, which you see all around Colorado now, to raise money to help with healthcare costs for those who can't afford it. And I actually owe my life to a clinical trial. One of the many pieces of cancer legislation I passed forbids insurance companies from throwing patients off their plan for participating in a clinical trial. So after my time in the legislature, I went to Susan G. Komen as their CEO and dedicated my time there to combating breast cancer. So now I serve as Lieutenant Governor and Director of the Office of Saving People Money on Healthcare, focusing on saving all Coloradoans money on healthcare. But I've not forgotten, and I continue to remember my fellow cancer patients and their needs, especially during difficult times like this. So I've also not forgotten about the need to combat the unfair inequities that exist in cancer treatment. So that's why I'm really happy to see Governor Polis sign this bill into law today, because clinical trials save lives, and the trials of today are the cures for tomorrow. This bill ensures that Coloradoans enrolled in Medicaid can have equitable access to these important therapies, as well as the additional medical necessary tests, medications, and treatments associated with participating in a clinical trial. So thank you for inviting me to speak today, and thank you to the bill sponsors for working so hard on this important bill that continues to work to ensure that all Coloradoans have access to the health care that they need. So I'm excited to see you sign it, Governor.
Here we go. It's now officially the law of Colorado. Congratulations. The next bill is about emergency telephone service charge. It makes sure that we can have support for our 9/11 dispatch centers, which is, of course, incredibly important during a pandemic, but also in any time for public safety. I want to thank Representative McCluskey, Representative Pelton, Senator Quorum, and Senator Gonzalez for their work on this bill, and Representative McCluskey is with us. Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Governor. I am so excited to see this bill be signed today and appreciate your support. You know, we grow up knowing those three numbers, 911, to access help in an emergency. My family has certainly used 911 in times of need. And I am so pleased that we were able to bring something across the finish line that allows us to support our 58 911 governing bodies, our PSAPs, those locations that are handling all these calls. We are migrating to next generation software technology, and we've created a need for a reliable and sustainable funding source. So I'm so pleased that we'll have both the ability to increase local surcharge as well as the statewide surcharge to support this migration onto a new modernized 911 technology structure. I want to give a special shout out to the members of the 911 Task Force Advisory Group, a group of people who have worked for nearly 2 years to see this bill come into play. My special thanks to Jackie Marie Louise, Athena Butler, Bruce Romero, Carl Stevens, Monica Million, Kimberly Culp, and of course my bill sponsors, Representative Pelton, Senator Gonzalez, and Senator Quorum. It was a great process all the way through, and we're so pleased you're signing it today, Governor. Thank you.
It's now official. Thanks for your work, Representative McCluskey, in making sure that our dispatch centers are able to keep up with their needs. The next bill is Senator Story, Senator Sonnenberg, Representative Roberts, Representative Valdez. I know Senator Story is with us. This bill is important because it has important funding for capital projects, controlled maintenance. UNC will finally be able to do their boiler replacement, and that's extremely important. And then Adams State is going to have heating and air conditioning replacement. So there's a lot of projects that really are just essential and critical. I want to thank Representative Roberts, Representative Valdez, Senator Story, Senator Sonnenberg for their important work on this bipartisan bill. I will turn it over to Senator Story.
Thank you, Governor. It's a pleasure to be here today, and thank you so much for setting this up so we can get this bill signed. CDC, the Capital Development Committee, manages a lot of work relative to the capital needs of all the buildings within the state. And some of those buildings include all of our institutions of higher education. And they have a number of needs, as you might guess, just like any of us would within our own homes. And we had passed a whole level of priorities, I guess, priorities that we had submitted to the Joint Budget Committee that we felt needed to be addressed relative to the needs of the state buildings across the entirety of the state. And with the COVID that came down and the pandemic and the impacts of the loss of revenue, that list got cut dramatically to just addressing really the controlled maintenance issues, the issues that were of greatest concern across the state. And which is fine. Those things certainly needed to be addressed. But these two projects in particular at UNC as well as Adams State, they also are basically controlled maintenance issues in that they have boilers that are failing and really need to be replaced before they become a catastrophic issue. But because they were over $2 million, they were excluded from controlled maintenance that puts them in capital renewal. And so this bill allows us to pull those in and get those repairs done as well, so that we don't end up with something catastrophic that would shut down an entire university because of loss of heat with their boilers. So thrilled to have the opportunity to help this move forward, and appreciate your support and willingness to sign this bill today. Thanks so much, Governor.
It's now official. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This bill makes sure that people can safely engage in fantasy sports. There have to be, we hope that real sports will occur in a safe way. That's obviously the success of fantasy sports is predicated upon sports are being able to occur, which is why it's important for everybody to wear a mask and stay 6 feet from others where possible and stay safer at home whenever you can. But we also want to make sure that people aren't ripped off in scams, and that if they want to participate in fantasy sports, that it's done in an above board and honest way. I want to thank Representative Garnett, Representative Williams, Senator Story, and Senator Cook for their work in this area. I'll turn it over to Senator Story.
This bill is relatively simple and makes some adjustments in the regulatory authority over fantasy sports contests, and it moves it from the Department of Regulatory Agencies into the Director of Division of Gaming within the Department of Revenue, which seemed like a better fit. And there's just some other minor adjustments also that will bring smaller contest operators under the same types of regulations that there are for the larger ones. And so this is just some adjustments being made in that realm of fantasy sports, and adjusts the sunset on it as well. Thank you, Governor.
It's now official. Congratulations. It's our final bill. We're joined by Representative Froelich and Senator Janal. I also want to thank Representative Ransom, Senator Holbert, and we're also joined by former State Senator Rob Hernandez, who will say a few words as well. And I want to thank everyone for their work on this bill that protects adults who are at risk of financial fraud or abuse. This helps make sure that a court visitor appointed by the court can interview respondents in person and help people put together and understand certain information in emergency guardian and special conservator cases. This will lead to more security for adults and protect people from scams and financial fraud. Thank you to the sponsors, and I'll turn it over to Representative Froelich.
Thank you so much, Governor, for signing this bill today, and thank you to our co-sponsors, who I think are going to say a few words as well, and our advocates. Navigating the judicial system is challenging for folks, and when you have an appointed guardian, this basically says that doesn't mean that you can't participate in the process and that you are now, your voice is silenced. So this will go a long way to protecting those folks with appointed guardians in the judicial system. And so we're so glad for today, and we're so glad that this sort of got resuscitated at the end of session and we were able to pass it. And I'm so pleased that you're signing it today. So thank you so much, Governor.
Thank you, Senator Janal. Oh, you're on mute, Senator Janal.
Trying to get off mute.
There we go.
Does everybody hear me? Hi. Good to see you all. I hope you're all staying cool today. Thank you, Governor, and thank you to Representative Froelich and to also Representative Ransom and Senator Holbert for making this bill possible. And thank you, Governor, for signing this bill today. You know, seniors are very important to all of us, but protecting them, I think, is going to be a challenge in the coming years because of all the issues out there that they have to face. And so these folks, the seniors and people with disabilities who fit into Senate Bill 129, are of utmost importance to me, and I think most all of us here in the legislature. But I think what this bill does is it looks at some of the bad actors. Some court-appointed guardians ignore the wishes of family members and exploit billing charges to elders' estates on their own benefit. And there have been instances of elders being non-necessarily taken from their homes and checked into living facilities by guardians against their will without families even knowing or being aware of this. So this bill now requires that the petitioner for guardianship have a pre-hearing conference with the elderly person along with the relatives and the members, friends who are interested in assisting, where a full dialogue can take place to determine if the guardian is fit to care for this individual. So I think it's an extremely important bill, and I want to thank the sponsors. I want to thank also Senator Hernandez for being here, and I'm sure he's going to have a few words to say. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And let me turn it over to my good friend, Rob Hernandez. Rob?
Well, thank you, Governor. It's good to see you again. And I want to thank you for signing this bill. It just seems like yesterday you were at Maureen Welch's house, and we were meeting with a very small but dedicated and persevering group of advocates who knew that things had to change. And you kind of looked at us and said, I got to get elected first. So here you are signing the bill and helping us out. And there's so much more to do. This is a strong step, but I want to thank the folks at the Colorado Bar Association for helping draft this. Amy Larson, who's the executive director, Andy Smith. You take a look at, there's Letty and Bristol. They are the legal beagle minds when it comes to guardianship law and the discipline. They are so smart, they're so compassionate, and they know their stuff. So I want to thank the Bar Association. And this is one that was parked in the House right when there was the recess. So we weren't really sure, but we knew there wasn't any fiscal note, so we were very hopeful. But there were so many people that came together, and it took 3 years to get us to where we're at today. And there's this old saying that, I don't know if you remember Wally Steele, when I was a freshman, he would say, you know, might have the best idea since baked bread, but it's going to take 3 years for all your colleagues to try to comprehend it and get it. And so here we are 3 years later. And Governor, I just want to thank you, because we know there's more work to do. This is a very strong step in the right direction, because there's more guardianship work to be done. So thanks again for everything you do, and to the sponsors, to Senator Janal. Senator Holbert couldn't be here today, and Representative Ransom and Meg Froelich for their strong dedication and their compassion, and everybody else who voted for this that saw the wisdom in this. So thank you very much, and I'm happy that you're signing it.
I'm happy that I'm signing it too. So let's make it the law. And the work is not over, but this is a big step. So congratulations. It's now officially the law of the state of Colorado. And that concludes our signings for today. Thank you to our legislators, our advocates, for bringing forward some wonderful bills. And today we made Colorado an even better place. Thank you for your work.